The car idles at the red light, engine humming low beneath the silence. My hand rests on my chest. Not dramatic, just checking. Feeling for something I can't name. The heartbeat underneath my palm isn't racing exactly. It's just tired. Like it's been running a marathon I never signed up for, and somewhere between this morning's anxiety and tonight's drive home, I forgot how to make it stop. Dashboard lights glow amber. Street lights slide past in slow motion. My phone sits face down in the cup holder. 3 unread texts I'm too exhausted to decode. And underneath it all, underneath the traffic, underneath the to-do list still scrolling in my head, there's this question I've been afraid to ask out loud. Was this all my life would be? This low-grade panic dressed up as productivity? This shallow breathing that never quite fills my lungs? This constant quiet sense that I'm one bad week away from falling apart, and no amount of prayer or planning or pushing through seems to change it. If your heart feels like it's been holding its breath for months, trust first, peace follows. Tonight, we're going to stop chasing calm and start planting roots. Because here's what I'm learning, what I'm still learning in the slowest, hardest way. Your heart isn't weak. It's just badly planted, and God has been whispering the same invitation for longer than you've been ignoring it. Come sit by the river. You'll walk away tonight with 1 unshakable promise, 3 practices you can start tomorrow morning, and a new way to measure whether you're growing or just surviving. This isn't about trying harder. It's about digging deeper. And by the end, you won't just understand trust, you'll feel it take root. The light turns green, but I don't move yet. I am nearer than your next breath. The whisper comes from nowhere and everywhere at once, and I pretend I didn't hear it. Key point 1, the worn-out pulse. I pull forward through the intersection and the road ahead stretches empty. It's that golden hour light that should feel peaceful, soft and forgiving, but it just makes the ache more visible. Like someone turned up the brightness on a life I've been too tired to look at directly. My chest still feels tight, not panic attack tight, not call the doctor tight, just occupied. Like my heart's been working a double shift for so long it forgot what rest feels like. And the thing is, nobody knows. I showed up today. I smiled at the right moments. I answered the Slack messages and returned the phone calls and made it through another performance of fine, how are you? But here, alone in this car with the day finally peeling off like old wallpaper, I can feel it. The exhaustion underneath the efficiency. The thinness underneath the competence. I replay the week in snapshots, and none of them feel like triumph. Monday. I said yes to covering someone's shift even though my calendar was already drowning. Not because I wanted to help, because I was afraid of what they'd think if I said no. Because somewhere along the way, I learned that people-pleasing equals safety, and I've been trying to earn my way into belonging ever since. Tuesday. I spent 45 minutes doom-scrolling at midnight, telling myself I was just checking the news. But really I was looking for something, anything, to distract me from the silence in my own head. Because silence means I have to sit with the thoughts I've been outrunning all day. The ones that whisper, you're behind, you're not enough, everyone else has this figured out. Wednesday. I prayed, but it felt like filing a report. Rapid-fire requests, no exhale, no pause. Fix this, help me with that. Please make them respond. Please let this work out. And then I closed my eyes and went back to refreshing my email like God was a vending machine that just needed the right combination of coins. Thursday. I had a conversation that required me to smile through gritted teeth. Nodding while someone said something that landed wrong, staying quiet because honesty felt too expensive. And afterward, I sat in my car for 10 minutes staring at the steering wheel, trying to figure out why doing the mature thing felt like swallowing glass. Friday. I couldn't remember the last time I felt light, not happy necessarily, just unburdened. The kind of peace that doesn't require 3 deep breaths and a mental pep talk just to get through breakfast. And now it's Friday night, and I'm driving home with one hand on my chest, feeling the tired thud, thud, thud of a heart that won't slow down. Not because today was catastrophic, because it was normal, and normal has started to feel unsustainable. The streetlights blur past, and I realize something I've been avoiding for months. I'm not drawing water from a well, I'm drawing from a puddle, and the puddle's almost gone. There are false wells I've been kneeling beside for years, thinking they were the answer. Let me name them. Because maybe you've been kneeling there too. Productivity as identity. If I stop producing, do I disappear? If I take a day off, will they forget I exist? If I let the inbox sit for 24 hours, will everything collapse? I've been living like my worth is measured in output, like God's keeping a scorecard, and rest feels like rebellion. So I keep moving, keep proving, keep stacking accomplishments like sandbags against the flood of irrelevance I'm terrified is coming. But here's the thing about that well. You drink from it, and you're thirstier 5 minutes later. Because productivity isn't water, it's salt. And the more you chase it, the more frantic you become. People-pleasing is safety. If they're happy, I'm safe. If I can just read the room right, anticipate the need, smooth over the tension, laugh at the joke I don't find funny, agree when I actually disagree, then I'll belong. Then they won't leave. Then I won't have to face the rejection I've been avoiding since I was a kid who learned that being easy was the fastest way to be loved. But that well, it's a mirage. You can spend your whole life trying to make everyone comfortable, and you'll still wake up feeling like a stranger in your own skin. Because the approval of others isn't water, it's vapor, and vapor doesn't sustain. It just evaporates the moment the wind changes. Certainty as God. If I can control the outcome, I won't be hurt. If I can just know how it's going to turn out. If I can plan enough, research enough, strategize enough, prepare for every possible scenario, then I'll be safe. So I scroll. I catastrophize. I run every conversation through 17 different filters before I send it. I rehearse apologies for conflicts that haven't happened yet. I treat uncertainty like it's the enemy and control like it's the cure. But certainty isn't a well. It's a treadmill. And the faster you run, the less you move. Because the need to know becomes its own prison. You think you're managing risk. But really, you're just white-knuckling your way through a life that was never meant to be micromanaged. The light turns red again, and I stop. My hand still on my chest. And I feel it. The sugar crash of validation, the treadmill of needing to know, the exhaustion of trying to hold my world together with worry. None of it works, not long-term, not in a way that sustains. These wells are shallow. They give you just enough to survive another day, but never enough to thrive. Never enough to stop feeling like you're one crisis away from empty. There's a difference between leaves and roots, and I've spent most of my life tending to the wrong one. Leaves are what people see. The smiles, the efficiency, the I'm fine, how are you? The curated version of myself that shows up to work, to church, to family dinners. The version that looks like it has it together, that seems steady, that never asks for too much or admits too little. But leaves don't sustain a tree, roots do. And roots are hidden, underground, doing the slow, unsexy work of drawing water from places no one else can see. Roots don't get applause. They don't trend on Instagram. They don't make you look impressive at dinner parties. But they're the only reason the tree survives when the heat comes, when the rain stops, when the visible falls away, and all that's left is what's been growing in secret. I think of the verse I've been avoiding all week, the one that keeps showing up in my peripheral vision like an uninvited guest. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. Jeremiah 17:7-8, King James. The old language that feels like it's reaching across centuries to grab me by the collar. Trusteth in the Lord, whose hope the Lord is. Not hope in outcomes, not hope in controlled variables, not hope in good behavior earning good results. Hope is the Lord himself. Trust isn't a strategy, it's a location, a place you plant yourself, a river you sit beside when everything in you wants to run back to the puddles because at least puddles are familiar. I've been treating trust like a feeling I'm supposed to conjure, a mood I'm supposed to manufacture if I pray hard enough or believe strong enough or suppress my doubt efficiently enough. But trust isn't a feeling, it's a root system. It's the slow daily decision to stop drawing from puddles and start digging down to the river I've been too afraid to reach for. The river that's been there the whole time. The whisper comes again, softer this time, like it's afraid I'll flinch. You keep watering anxieties like they're the only plants in your garden. Come sit by my river. Stop tending what I never asked you to grow. My throat tightens, because the truth is, I've been cultivating worry like it's a spiritual discipline, feeding fear like it's my responsibility, treating anxiety like it's evidence I'm taking life seriously. And somewhere along the way, I convinced myself that if I just worried enough, cared enough, controlled enough, then maybe, I'd finally feel safe. But God never asked me to water anxieties. He asked me to plant myself by the river, and the river isn't downstream from my effort, it's upstream from my existence. It was flowing before I was born, and it'll keep flowing long after I'm gone. The only question is whether I'll stop running long enough to let my roots reach it. The light turns green. I press the gas, and the car moves forward. But something inside me is still sitting at that red light, hand on chest, asking the question I'm finally ready to hear. What if I'm not broken? What if I'm just badly planted? What if the problem isn't that I'm weak, but that I've been trying to grow in soil that was never meant to sustain me? What if the exhaustion isn't evidence of failure? It's evidence that I've been drawing from the wrong source. And what if there's a river 10 feet deeper waiting for me to stop kneeling at puddles? The thought lands soft, but it lands true. And for the first time in months, I feel something shift. Not relief, not yet, but the beginning of permission. The first breath before the exhale. The recognition that maybe, just maybe, I don't have to keep living like this. Rooted, not restless. The phrase surfaces like a refrain I didn't know I needed. I say it out loud, just to hear how it sounds in the space between the dashboard and the windshield. Rooted, not restless. It doesn't fix anything. My chest is still tight. My to-do list is still long. The unanswered texts are still sitting in my phone waiting for replies I'm too tired to craft. But something is different. A hairline crack in the concrete I've been standing on. A sliver of light underneath a door I thought was locked. The worn-out pulse in my chest beats steady. Tired, but still here. And I think, just for a second, that maybe tired doesn't mean finished. Maybe it just means it's time to stop running and start planting. The road stretches ahead, and I keep driving. But I'm not alone anymore. There's a whisper riding shotgun, and it won't let me forget. I am nearer than your next breath. The next morning comes too early, but I'm awake before the alarm. Not because I'm rested, because my mind started running the moment my eyes opened. That familiar loop of what if and I should and did I forget already spinning before my feet hit the floor. I reach for my phone. 3 notifications. My chest tightens before I even read them. The first one is innocuous, a weather alert, but the second one stops me cold. A text from someone I've been meaning to respond to for 3 days. Just 2 words. You okay? And just like that, I'm in the spiral. You okay? What does that mean? Are they upset? Did I miss something? Was I supposed to reach out first? Is this passive-aggressive or genuinely concerned? Should I respond now or wait? If I respond now, will I seem defensive? If I wait, will they think I'm avoiding them? 90 seconds. That's how long it takes to go from "you okay" to drafting 3 different apologies in my head for things I'm not even sure I did wrong. This is what shallow roots look like in real time. 1 text, 1 shift in tone, 1 unexpected question, and my entire nervous system treats it like a 5-alarm fire. Because when you're drawing from puddles instead of rivers, when your roots spread horizontal instead of vertical, every little disruption feels like a threat to your survival. There's no depth to absorb the shock, no reservoir to draw from, just reaction. Immediate, frantic, exhausting reaction. Hurry is a poor root system. Let me walk you through the anatomy of a panic cascade, because maybe you know this sequence by heart. It starts with a text, a strange tone, or maybe just the absence of tone, which your anxious brain interprets as evidence of disaster. Within 10 seconds, you're no longer reading words, you're reading subtext, you're analyzing punctuation. You're comparing this message to the last 5 they sent, looking for patterns, trying to decode whether the lack of an exclamation point means they're angry, or just busy, or secretly planning to cut you out of their life. 20 seconds in, you've constructed 3 possible narratives. They're upset with you, and you need to fix it immediately. They're fine, but you're overthinking, which means you're the problem. They're upset, but if you apologize, you'll look desperate, so now you're trapped. 45 seconds in, you've drafted an apology text, deleted it, drafted another one, deleted that too, opened a different app to distract yourself, but the notification is still there, glowing like a tiny landmine in your pocket. 60 seconds in, you've catastrophized the relationship. You've imagined the conversation where they tell you they need space, You've already started bargaining with God. If you just fix this, I'll read my Bible more, I'll be better, I'll stop complaining, as if divine intervention can be earned through good behavior and panic-driven promises. 90 seconds, one text, total spiral. And here's the thing. The problem isn't the text. The problem is that your roots don't go deep enough to handle normal relational turbulence. You're not planted by a river. You're clinging to the surface, grasping for anything that feels like stability. And when the wind shifts even slightly, you're knocked flat. This is what the Bible calls being careful in the year of drought. Let me unpack that phrase, because it's easy to miss in the old King James language. But it's the diagnosis I've been avoiding. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. Careful. In 1611, when the King James translators put that word on the page, it didn't mean cautious. It meant full of care, anxious, worried, self-reliant in the frantic, white-knuckled way that comes when you're trying to survive on your own strength because you don't actually believe the river will be enough. Careful in the year of drought means when provision isn't visible, when circumstances dry up, when life stops cooperating with your plans, you become frantic. You start grasping. You try to manufacture your own water because you don't trust that God's already provided it 10 feet deeper than you've been willing to dig. The shallow-rooted person sees the surface crack and panics, starts running from puddle to puddle, trying to collect enough to survive another day, becomes hyper-vigilant, hyper-reactive, hyper-controlled, loses sleep, loses peace, loses the ability to sit still without scrolling, planning, or catastrophizing. The deep-rooted person, they barely notice the drought, not because they're numb, not because they're in denial, but because their roots have reached the underground river, the aquifer that doesn't depend on surface conditions. They're drawing from a source the drought can't touch. And I realize, sitting here with my phone in my hand and my chest tight over a 2-word text, that I've been living like a shallow-rooted tree my entire adult life, spreading my roots horizontally, grasping for quick fixes, immediate relief, surface-level solutions, instead of going down. Instead of trusting that if I dig deep enough, past the anxiety and the need to control and the fear of what I'll find in the silence, there's a river. And the river is God. And God is enough, even when nothing else is. I put the phone down. Face up this time so I can see the screen. The text is still there. You okay? And instead of spiraling, instead of drafting and deleting and bargaining, I do something I've never done before. I stop. I name the fear underneath the behavior. Reveal. Not, I'm stressed. Not, I'm overthinking. But the exact fear, said out loud in the quiet of my kitchen with no one listening but God and the part of me that's been running from this truth for years. I'm afraid if I tell the truth, they'll leave. I'm afraid if I'm not perfect, if I don't respond perfectly, if I don't manage this perfectly, they'll decide I'm too much work and I'll be alone again. There it is, the root under the root, the wound under the worry, the thing I've been medicating with people-pleasing and performative competence and 3-draft text messages. I'm afraid of abandonment. And I've been trying to earn my way into permanent belonging by being easy, agreeable, and endlessly available, by never needing too much, by never asking for what I actually need, by making sure everyone else is comfortable so they'll have no reason to walk away. And it's exhausting. Because you can't earn what's already been given. You can't manufacture safety by controlling other people's opinions. You can't build deep roots by staying shallow. Release. This is the second R, and it's harder than the first because releasing means surrendering the outcome. It means praying the prayer I've been avoiding because it sounds too much like giving up. I close my eyes. My hand finds my chest again, not checking this time, just anchoring. God. I can't control this. I can't control whether they're upset, or whether I did something wrong, or whether this friendship survives my honesty. I'm afraid you won't come through. I'm afraid if I stop managing every detail, everything will fall apart. But I'm releasing my grip anyway. I'm letting go of the outcome. I'm trusting you with what I can't control, which is everything. It's not a pretty prayer. It's not eloquent, but it's true. And something about saying it out loud, admitting that I've been trying to be my own savior, my own sustainer, my own safety net, breaks something open. Not relief, not yet, but space, permission to stop holding the world together with my worry. Reroute. The third R. One trust action within 24 hours. I pick up the phone. I don't draft 17 versions. I don't analyze tone or punctuation or whether this will make me look weak. I just respond. Honestly. I'm okay. Just tired. Took me a few days to reply because I've been trying to manage everything on my own instead of asking for help. Thanks for checking in. Can we talk this week? Send. My thumb hovers over the screen for 3 seconds, and then I put the phone face down and walk away. Because the trust action isn't just sending the text, it's leaving the result with God. Not refreshing, not checking, not analyzing their response time or whether they read it immediately or whether the typing bubble appears and then disappears, which obviously means they're upset and crafting a careful reply, which means I was right to be anxious, which means I should apologize again. Number, stop. Rooted, not restless. I say it again, out loud. A refrain, a reminder, a return. Rooted, not restless. This is what the root test looks like in real time. Reveal the exact fear. Release the outcome. Reroute with one small obedience. It doesn't fix everything. It doesn't erase the years of shallow root living or the patterns carved into my nervous system by 1,000 previous spirals. But it's a route. One small route, reaching down past the panic, past the puddle, toward the river I'm just starting to believe is actually there. The morning light slants through the kitchen window, and I realize I've been standing here for 10 minutes. No phone, no scrolling, no noise. Just silence. And in the silence, a whisper I almost miss. Deep is not distant. You think you need to climb to reach me, but I am under your feet, holding the soil that holds you. Go slow enough to feel it. I exhale. Long and slow. The kind of exhale that feels like I've been holding my breath for months. And then, I do something I haven't done in years. I grab my keys, leave the phone on the counter, and go for a walk. Not a power walk, not a podcast walk, just a walk. 5 minutes. Silence. Noticing. There's a tree at the end of my street. I've driven past it 1,000 times, but I've never really seen it. It's old, thick trunk. Branches that spread wide, leaves that catch the early light and turn it gold. I stop. I look at it, really look. And I think about roots, about how the part I can see, the impressive canopy, the height, the reach, is only possible because of what's happening underground. In the dark, in the hidden places no one applauds. That tree isn't anxious about the next drought. It's not checking the weather forecast or running worst-case scenarios. It's just there, rooted, drawing from a source I can't see but I know is real, because the evidence is standing in front of me, green and steady and unshakable. I want that. Not the tree, the trust. The kind of trust that doesn't require certainty or control or 17 backup plans. The kind of trust that digs down, finds the river, and stops running. I walk back home. The phone is where I left it, face down on the counter. One notification. My chest tightens reflexively, but I don't reach for it yet. Instead, I sit. I close my eyes. And I practice the breath prayer I've been avoiding because it feels too simple to work. I trust you, Lord. Root me. Inhale. I trust you, Lord. Exhale. Root me. 5 breaths. 10. 15. And somewhere around the 10th breath, I feel it. Not peace, exactly. Not yet. But the beginning of steadiness. The sense that maybe I don't have to white-knuckle my way through today. Maybe I can just show up, do the next right thing, let God carry the weight I've been counting. The notification is still there. I pick up the phone. It's a reply. I'd love that. How about Thursday? That's it. No hidden subtext. No passive aggression. No evidence that my worst-case scenario was ever real. Just a person being a person. And me, learning slowly, painfully, beautifully, how to be a tree planted by the river instead of an anxious branch clinging to the surface. Deep is not distant. Go slow enough to reach me. I think about the week ahead, The meetings, the emails, the inevitable moments when the text will come in with a strange tone, when the bill will arrive, when the silence will stretch, when the old panic will try to pull me back into the spiral. And I make a decision, a small one, a root-sized one. Every red light this week, every single one, I'm going to practice the breath prayer. I trust you, Lord, root me. Not because it's magic, not because it'll make the hard things disappear, but because trust is a reflex, and reflexes are built through repetition. And if I can train my nervous system to return to the river instead of running to the puddles, maybe, the next time the text comes in, the next time the fear rises, the next time I'm tempted to spiral, I'll have a different response. Not perfect, but deeper, not anxious, but anchored, rooted, not restless. The kitchen is quiet. The morning is still, and for the first time in a long time, I'm not in a hurry to fill the silence with noise. Because hurry is a poor root system, and I'm learning, slowly, to go deep instead of fast. The next morning, I wake up 20 minutes earlier than I need to. Not because my alarm went off, not because my mind started racing, but because something in me is curious. Like I've been handed a map to a place I've heard about but never visited, and for the first time, I actually want to see if it's real. The house is still dark, quiet in that pre-dawn way where even the air feels like it's holding its breath. I could reach for my phone. 3 notifications are probably already waiting, little fires I could spend the next hour putting out, but I don't. Instead, I get up, make coffee, sit at the kitchen table with nothing but a lamp and a Bible I haven't opened in weeks. This feels awkward, unfamiliar, like I'm trying on a new language I'm not sure I'm pronouncing correctly. But I'm here, and that's something. I flip to Jeremiah 17, verse 7, verse 8. The words I've been circling around for days, too afraid to land on them fully, because landing means I have to stop running long enough to let them reshape me. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. I read it once, twice, 3 times, and then I do something I haven't done since I was a kid in Sunday school. I copy it by hand, slowly, 1 word at a time, feeling the shape of the letters, the weight of the phrases. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord. My handwriting is messier than I remember, but that's not the point. The point is that something happens when you slow down enough to transcribe instead of just consume. The words stop being information and start being intimate, personal, like God's leaning over my shoulder watching me write, whispering, yes, this one, this is for you. I underline 1 phrase, whose hope the Lord is. Not hope in the Lord. Hope is the Lord. Like hope isn't a feeling I'm supposed to manufacture or a theological concept I'm supposed to master. It's a person. And if I want to find hope, I don't need to dig deeper into my own reserves or try harder to believe the right things. I just need to sit closer to him. I close my eyes, and I pray the phrase back, in my own clumsy, half-awake words. God, I want you to be my hope. Not just the one I hope in, but the hope itself, the source, the river. I'm tired of trying to conjure feelings or fake certainty. I just want to sit here, close enough that my roots can reach you. It's not eloquent, but it's honest. And something about the honesty cracks me open in a way that perfectly crafted prayers never do. 15 minutes. That's all this took. And I'm already running late for the rest of my morning routine, but I don't care. Because for the first time in months, I feel like I actually met with God instead of just reporting to him. I stand up, grab my keys, leave the phone on the counter again, face down, on purpose, and step outside. 5-minute walk. No destination, no podcast. Just silence and the sound of my own footsteps on pavement still wet from last night's rain. The neighborhood is waking up slowly. A few lights on in kitchen windows. A dog barking in the distance. The sky turning from deep blue to pale grey. The kind of pre-sunrise color that feels like the world is holding space for something new. I notice things I usually miss. The way the streetlights reflect in puddles. The smell of wet concrete and fresh-cut grass. A tree at the corner, same one I saw yesterday, its roots probably stretching deep underneath the sidewalk, drinking from places I can't see. I stop in front of it, put my hand on the trunk, feel the rough bark under my palm, and I think about what it means to be planted, not wandering, not hustling from place to place, looking for the next source of validation or safety or certainty. Just here, rooted, drawing from one unshakable source, even when the surface looks dry. Where you plant your attention, your heart grows roots. I walk back home. The sun is starting to rise now, turning the sky pink and gold. I pour another cup of coffee and sit back down at the kitchen table with a blank page in my journal. This is the third part. The part I've been avoiding because writing things down makes them real, and making them real means I have to actually deal with them. But I'm learning that roots grow in honesty, so I write. One fear revealed, I'm afraid that if I slow down, I'll realize how much I've been running from. I'm afraid the silence will be louder than the noise. I'm afraid God will ask me to change things I'm not ready to release. There it is. The thing I've been medicating with busyness and productivity and the constant hum of distraction. I'm not afraid of failure. I'm afraid of stillness. Because stillness means I have to face the parts of my life I've been too busy to examine. One release prayed, God, I release my need to stay in motion. I release my fear of what I'll find if I stop. I trust you with the silence. I trust you with whatever you want to say to me in the stillness I've been avoiding. My hand shakes a little as I write it. Not because it's dramatic, because it's true, and truth has weight. One trust action planned. Today, I will say no to one thing I would normally say yes to out of fear or obligation, and I will use that time to sit in silence for 10 minutes. No phone, no agenda, just sitting. I close the journal. 15 minutes total. Word, walk, write. It doesn't feel like I've climbed a mountain or had a mystical experience or unlocked some secret level of spirituality. It just feels like I planted something. Small, unseen. A root reaching down toward a river I'm choosing to believe is there. Rooted, not restless. The day unfolds. Emails, meetings, the usual chaos. But something is different. Around 10 a.m., someone asks if I can take on an extra project. Normally, I'd say yes immediately, not because I have time, but because saying no feels dangerous. But I remember the trust action I wrote down this morning. I appreciate you thinking of me, but I'm going to need to pass on this one. My plate is full right now. I hit send before I can second guess it. And then I wait for the guilt, the panic, the spiral of, what if they think I'm lazy? What if this damages my reputation? What if I just ruined everything? But it doesn't come. Or maybe it starts to come, and I catch it before it takes root. I trust you, Lord. Root me. Breath prayer, right there at my desk. Inhale trust, exhale control. And the guilt softens, doesn't disappear, but loses its grip. I open a new document on my computer, title it, Trust Tally. This is practice number 2, the thing I'm going to carry with me all week. Not a list of accomplishments or outcomes, a list of obediences. Small moments where I trusted God instead of defaulting to fear. I type the first entry, 10:05 a.m. Said no to extra project. Did not apologize, did not explain. Just declined and moved on. Chest tight for 3 minutes. Prayed. Still here. That's it. One micro trust, one tiny root reaching down past the need to people please, past the fear of rejection, toward the river that says, you are mine, and that's enough. By noon, I have 2 more entries. 11:20 a.m. Received passive-aggressive email. Did not respond immediately. Took a 10-minute walk instead. Will reply this afternoon when I'm not reactive. 12:15 p.m. Someone asked how I'm doing. Said, honestly, I'm a little overwhelmed instead of, I'm fine. They didn't leave. They didn't look uncomfortable. They just listened. 3 micro-trusts before lunch. 3 small obediences. 3 roots growing in places I used to fill with anxiety and performance and the exhausting work of keeping everyone comfortable. I'm not healed. I'm not fixed. But I'm different. Like my nervous system is slowly learning that trust isn't a feeling I have to conjure. It's a practice I can repeat. Late afternoon. I'm staring at my inbox, and there it is. The email I've been avoiding for a week. An apology I need to send. Not the kind where I'm apologizing for existing or for taking up space or for having needs. The kind where I actually did something wrong, said something that landed poorly, let my own hurt spill over onto someone else in a way that wasn't fair. I've drafted it 17 times in my head, deleted it 17 times, because I'm afraid. Afraid they won't forgive me. Afraid they'll use it against me. Afraid honesty will cost me more than silence. But I think about the root test, reveal, release, reroute, and I think about what it means to be planted by the waters instead of clinging to puddles. Puddles don't require vulnerability. Rivers do. I open a new email and I write it. Not the version that protects me, not the version that hedges and qualifies and leaves room for plausible deniability, the version that's just true. I'm sorry. I was hurt, and instead of saying that directly, I let it come out sideways in a way that wasn't fair to you. You didn't deserve that. I'm working on being more honest about my feelings instead of letting them leak out in ways I can't control. I value our relationship and I want to do better. Can we talk? I read it twice. My finger hovers over the send button for a full 10 seconds. And then I remember the whisper from this morning. Let roots drink in quiet. I will carry the weight you keep counting. I hit send. The relief doesn't come immediately. First comes the panic, the what-if spiral, the mental rehearsal of all the ways this could go wrong. But I catch it, faster this time. I trust you, Lord. Root me. Breath prayer, inhale trust, exhale control. And I add another entry to the trust tally, 3:45 p.m. Sent the apology, did not try to control the outcome, left it with God, hands shaking, heart steady. I close the laptop, put my phone in a drawer, and I do the thing I committed to this morning, the trust action I wrote in my journal. 10 minutes of silence. No agenda, no productivity, just sitting. At first, it's uncomfortable. My mind wants to run, wants to make a list, check a notification, fix a problem, plan the next thing. But I don't let it. I just sit. Hands in my lap, eyes closed, breathing. And somewhere around minute 6, I feel it. Not peace, exactly, not yet, but something deeper than peace. Something like presence. Like God's been here the whole time, waiting for me to stop moving long enough to notice. I am here. I have always been here. You don't have to earn this. You don't have to perform your way into my presence. You just have to stop running long enough to let your roots reach me. The 10 minutes end. I open my eyes. The kitchen looks the same. The light slanting through the window, the coffee mug on the table, the journal still open to this morning's entry. But I'm different, not transformed, not suddenly enlightened, just a little more rooted, a little less restless. I think about the week ahead, the moments when the fear will rise, when the text will come in with a strange tone, when the silence will stretch, when the old patterns will try to pull me back into shallow root living. And I think about the practices I'm planting. Morning rule of life, word, walk, write. 15 minutes, every day. Before the phone, before the chaos, before the world gets loud. Trust tally, track the micro-trusts. Not outcomes, but obediences. Build a record that proves I can trust God in small things, so when the big things come, I'll have evidence that He's been faithful all along. Breath prayer. At every red light. At every moment of rising panic. I trust you, Lord. Root me. Let it become a reflex. These aren't magic formulas. They're not productivity hacks or spiritual shortcuts. They're just roots. Small, daily, unglamorous roots reaching down past the anxiety, past the need to control, toward the river I'm learning to trust is actually there. Where you plant your attention, your heart grows roots. I say it out loud, let it settle into the quiet, and then I open the drawer, pull out my phone and check the notification I've been avoiding. It's a reply. To the apology. Thank you for this. I was hurt, but I appreciate you saying it. Let's talk tomorrow. I miss you. My eyes blur. Not with panic this time. With something softer. Something like relief mixed with gratitude, mixed with the slow, steady realization that trust isn't a gamble. It's a planting. And what you plant by the waters doesn't just survive, it grows. The divine whisper comes again, quieter now, like it doesn't need to shout anymore. Let roots drink in quiet. I will carry the weight you keep counting. You are not holding the world together with your worry. I am holding you, and I will not let go. I close my eyes, breathe. And for the first time all day, maybe all week, I feel it. Not peace as the absence of trouble, but peace as the presence of roots. Deep, hidden, unshakable roots drinking from a river that doesn't depend on my effort, my performance, or my ability to keep everything under control. Rooted, not restless. The refrain lands softer this time, not a command, a benediction. I sit there for another minute, letting it settle. And then I get up, make dinner, and move through the evening like a person who's learning. Slowly, awkwardly, beautifully. How to trust first, so peace can follow. It's Wednesday morning, 3 days into the new rhythm, and everything falls apart. Not dramatically, not catastrophically, just persistently. Like the universe decided to test whether these roots I've been planting are actually reaching anything real, or if I've just been playing spiritual dress-up. The bill comes first, not the one I was expecting, the manageable one I'd budgeted for. The other one, the one with 3 extra zeros that makes my stomach drop before I've even finished my coffee. Medical expense from 4 months ago that insurance decided just now they're not covering after all. I stare at the number on the screen, do the math in my head, watch my carefully constructed budget disintegrate in real time. The old version of me would already be spiraling, running worst-case scenarios, Googling payment plans, catastrophizing my way into a panic attack before breakfast. But I stop, hand on chest, not checking, anchoring. I trust you, Lord. Root me. Inhale. Exhale. The panic rises, but it doesn't consume. It's there. I feel it, sharp and real. But there's something underneath it now. Something deeper than the fear. A foundation I didn't have 4 days ago. I open my journal, write it down. Wednesday, 6:47 a.m. Unexpected bill, $2,340. Chest tight, hands shaking, but did not spiral. Prayed first, still scared but not alone in it. 1 entry on the trust tally. The day hasn't even started yet. By 9 a.m., the second thing hits. An email. From someone I thought we'd resolved things with. Apparently, my apology landed wrong, or didn't land at all, or landed fine but uncovered a deeper issue I didn't know was there. The tone is careful, measured, but underneath the careful words is something unmistakable. Hurt. Distance. The kind of relational fracture that makes you wonder if honesty was worth it after all. I read it twice. 3 times. My throat tightens. The old version of me would already be drafting a response, over-explaining, apologizing for apologizing, trying to fix it immediately because unresolved conflict feels like standing on a ledge, and I've spent my whole life terrified of falling. But I don't open a reply window. Not yet. Instead, I close the laptop, stand up, walk to the window. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord. I say it out loud. Just me and the morning light and the ache in my chest that won't go away just because I prayed about it. Whose hope the Lord is. Not hope in outcomes. Not hope in my ability to manage this perfectly. Hope is the Lord. Which means even when I can't see the resolution, even when the relationship feels fragile and my words feel inadequate, He's still here, still holding, still enough. I write it in the trust tally at Wednesday, 9:15 a.m. Conflict unresolved, wanted to fix it immediately, chose to wait, to pray, to let God hold what I can't control. Still hurts, still here. 2 entries before lunch. 2 moments where the heat rose. And I didn't wilt. Not because I'm stronger, because I'm learning to drink from somewhere deeper. The third thing comes just after noon, a text from my boss. Can you jump on a call in 10? No context. No subject line. Just the kind of vague, ominous message that sends every worst-case scenario racing through your mind at once. I stare at the screen. My mind immediately goes to the darkest place. I'm getting fired, or demoted, or they're unhappy with my work, and this is the beginning of the end. 10 minutes to spiral, 10 minutes to rehearse my defense, 10 minutes to convince myself that everything I've been afraid of is finally coming true. but I catch it. Faster this time. Like my nervous system is learning a new language. And even though I'm not fluent yet, I know enough to recognize when I'm slipping back into the old dialect of panic. I trust you, Lord. Root me. Breath prayer. Right there in the middle of my kitchen. Inhale, trust. Exhale, control. And then I do something that feels insane. I wait. I don't Google signs you're about to be fired. I don't text 3 friends asking them to tell me I'm overreacting. I don't pre-write an apology for things I haven't been accused of yet. I just sit for 9 minutes in silence, letting the fear rise and fall like a wave without letting it pull me under. At 12:10, I join the call. It's not bad news. It's not even remotely close to bad news. It's a project update, a quick check-in, something that could have been an email but wasn't, and my brain turned it into a 5-alarm fire because that's what shallow roots do. They interpret every gust of wind as a hurricane. I hang up, sit back in my chair, and I laugh. Not because it's funny, because it's absurd how much energy I've spent over the years catastrophizing things that never happened. How many hours I've lost to worst-case scenarios that existed only in my head. Trust, Talia, Wednesday, 12:20 p.m. Vague text from boss, assumed disaster, prayed instead of spiraling, turned out to be nothing. But the trust mattered even before I knew the outcome. 3 entries by lunchtime. 3 moments where the heat came and my leaf stayed green. Not because the circumstances were easy, because my roots were finally reaching water. I think about the verse I copied this morning, the part I underlined twice. And shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. Shall not see when heat cometh. I used to think that meant the heat wouldn't happen, that if I trusted God enough I'd somehow be exempt from hard seasons. That deep roots were a shield against difficulty. But that's not what it says. It says the heat will come. It just says I won't see it the same way. I won't be hyper-vigilant, scanning the horizon for the next disaster, treating every shift in temperature like an existential threat. Because when your roots go deep, you stop living in survival mode. You stop acting like every challenge is proof that God's abandoned you. Her leaf shall be green. Not her roots, her leaf, the visible part, the part other people see. Even when the underground is doing hard, invisible work, even when provision isn't obvious, when circumstances are difficult, when nothing on the surface looks like it's going well, there's still life, still vitality, still evidence that something deeper is sustaining you. Shall not be careful in the year of drought, not anxious, not self-reliant, not frantic, not trying to manufacture your own water or control your own outcomes or white-knuckle your way through uncertainty. Neither shall cease from yielding fruit. And this is the part that wrecks me, because fruit in drought doesn't mean success, productivity, or visible accomplishment. It means patience when you're on hold with customer service for 40 minutes. Gentleness when someone snaps at you and you don't snap back. Generosity with your time when you're already exhausted. Kindness in the reply to the passive-aggressive email. Fruit is soul work, heart work. The kind of work nobody sees and nobody applauds, but heaven notices. By late afternoon, I'm tired. Not frantic, but worn. Like I've been holding space for hard things without collapsing under them. And that kind of endurance has its own cost. I think about giving up on the practices, skipping the evening wind down, scrolling through my phone until my brain goes numb and I don't have to feel the weight of the day anymore. But I remember the liturgy I wrote down. The one for moments like this, when the heat rises and every part of me wants to quit. Drought liturgy. I say it out loud, standing in the middle of my kitchen with the dishes still in the sink and the bill still unpaid and the email still unresolved. Blessed is my name who trusts in the Lord, whose hope the Lord is. It feels awkward, self-conscious, like I'm performing a ritual I don't fully understand yet, but I say it anyway. Because identity comes before reaction. And if I'm going to respond to heat with anything other than panic, I need to remember who I am first. I am not the sum of my circumstances. I am not defined by the bill or the conflict or the uncertainty. I am the person who trusts in the Lord, whose hope the Lord is. And that's true whether today goes well or falls apart. One good work. This is the second part of the liturgy. Serve someone, encourage, share. Do one thing that benefits another, even when I feel depleted. I scroll through my texts, find the friend who's been struggling this week, the one I've been meaning to reach out to but haven't because I've been so consumed with my own chaos. I type a message, simple, honest, thinking of you today. I know this week has been hard. You're not alone in it. Let me know if you need anything, even just someone to vent to. Send. It's not much, it's not heroic, but it's fruit. A green leaf in the middle of my own drought. Proof that even when I'm struggling, I can still give, still show up, still let something good grow from the soil I'm standing in. One good rest. The third part, stop scrolling, 10 minutes of quiet. No fix, no research, no noise. I set a timer, sit on the couch, close my eyes. At first, my mind races. You should be working on the bill. You should reply to that email. You should be doing something productive instead of sitting here like rest is a luxury you can afford. But I don't move. I just breathe. I trust you, Lord. Root me. And somewhere around minute 5, the noise softens. My shoulders drop. My jaw unclenches. The tightness in my chest doesn't disappear, but it settles. Like I've been clenching a fist all day and I'm finally letting it open. The timer goes off. I open my eyes. The bill is still there. The email is still unresolved. The uncertainty hasn't magically transformed into clarity. But I'm different. Not fixed. Not finished. Just steadier. Like I've been tested, and I didn't break. Not because I'm strong, but because I've been drinking from a source that doesn't run dry. I open my journal, write the final entry for today's trust tally. Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Practice drought liturgy. Said my name out loud with blessed is. Texted a friend. Rested for 10 minutes without guilt. The hard things are still hard, but I'm still green. I read it back to myself, and I realize something I've been missing my whole life. Drought doesn't mean death. It just means the growth is happening underground. The world measures productivity by what's visible, accomplishments, milestones, outcomes. But God measures it by roots, by the slow, hidden work of trust that no one sees but Him, by the choice to stay planted when everything in you wants to run, by the decision to keep drinking from the river even when the surface looks dry. This is what it means to yield fruit in drought. Not success, not ease, not the absence of struggle. Just faithfulness. One small obedience at a time. One micro-trust added to the tally. One green leaf that says, I am held by something deeper than my circumstances. Drought tests branches. It also proves roots. That night, I don't sleep perfectly. I wake up at 2 a.m. with my mind already running through tomorrow's tasks. The bill I still need to figure out. The conversation I still need to have. But instead of reaching for my phone, instead of letting the spiral take over, I do something different. I put my hand on my chest, feel the steady thud underneath my palm. I trust you, Lord. Root me. 5 breaths. 10. 15. And I fall back asleep. Not because the problems are solved, because I'm learning that my peace doesn't depend on having all the answers. It depends on staying close to the one who does. The heat came today, and I didn't wilt. Not because I'm better at surviving, because I'm learning to drink from a river the drought can't touch. And tomorrow, when the heat comes again, because it will, I'll do the same thing. Word, walk, write, trust, tally, drought liturgy, breath prayer, small roots, deep water, green leaves, even in heat. Rooted, not restless. The whisper comes one more time before I drift off, softer than ever. Heat does not harm what I water. You will weather what would have withered you before. Not because you're better at surviving, but because you've learned to stay near me. And I am enough, even when nothing else is. I exhale, long and slow. And I believe it, not perfectly, not without questions, but enough to close my eyes and rest in the truth that I am held by something deeper than my fear, stronger than my circumstances, and more faithful than anything I've ever tried to control. The drought is real, but so is the river, and the river is winning. It's Friday night, and I'm driving the same road I drove a week ago. Same dashboard glow, same streetlights sliding past in amber intervals, same hand resting on my chest. But the rhythm underneath my palm is different. Not perfect, not free of tension or worry or the low hum of stress that comes from being human in a world that doesn't stop asking things of you, but steadier, like something underneath the chaos has shifted, like I've spent the week planting roots I can't see yet, but I can feel them, small, stubborn, reaching down past the panic towards something solid. The week wasn't easy. The bill is still unpaid. I set up a payment plan, made the calls, did the math, and released the outcome. The relationship is still tender. We talked yesterday, honest and halting, and it's not fixed, but it's real. The work stress didn't magically disappear, but I didn't let it consume me. I set boundaries. I said no. I rested without apologizing for it. And through it all, I kept showing up to the practices: word, walk, write, trust, tally, drought liturgy, breath prayer at every red light, 15 minutes in the morning, micro-trusts throughout the day, liturgy when the heat rose, small obediences, tiny roots, nothing dramatic, nothing Instagram-worthy. But I'm different, and the difference isn't in my circumstances, it's in my reflex. I pull up to a red light and sit in the silence. The old me would already be running through tomorrow's to-do list, rehearsing conversations, planning contingencies. The old me would treat this stoplight like wasted time, a delay between productivity and more productivity. But tonight, I just breathe. I trust you, Lord. Root me. Inhale trust, exhale control. It's becoming automatic, not forced, not performative, just reflex. The way your hand moves to catch something before your brain tells it to. The way you blink without thinking. The way roots reach for water without asking permission. I've done this breath prayer 43 times this week. I counted. 43 red lights, 43 moments where I could have spiraled, and instead, I anchored. 43 small obediences that rewired my nervous system one breath at a time, and I'm starting to see it. The shift. The new pattern emerging underneath the old one. I'm becoming the person who trusts first, not the person who panics first and scrambles to trust later. Not the person who exhausts every human option and then, as a last resort, reluctantly hands it to God. The person who trusts first. Before I act, before I react, before I spiral, trust first. Peace follows. The light turns green. I drive forward and a memory surfaces, sharp and specific. Monday morning. The text that came in with no context. Just 3 words. We need to talk. The old version of me would have spent the next 6 hours catastrophizing, running every possible worst-case scenario, drafting preemptive apologies, Googling how to read subtext in digital communication, losing sleep, losing peace, losing myself in the anxiety spiral I've perfected over decades of shallow root living. But this week I did something different. I saw the text, felt the panic rise, sharp and immediate, like my body remembered the script even if my mind was trying to rewrite it. And then I stopped, hand on chest, anchoring, reveal. I'm afraid this is bad news. I'm afraid I did something wrong and I'm about to be confronted. Release. God, I can't control what this conversation is about. I can't prepare for every possible outcome. I'm releasing my grip on the need to know. I trust you with what I can't see. Reroute. I'm not responding yet. I'm going to do my morning rule first. Word, walk, write, and then I'll text back. I did the 15 minutes. Read Jeremiah 17 again, the verses that are starting to feel like home. Walked in silence, wrote in my journal, let my roots drink before I responded. And when I finally texted back, happy to talk. When works for you? My hands weren't shaking. My chest wasn't tight. I wasn't drafting 17 versions or analyzing punctuation or bracing for impact. I was just present, rooted, trusting that whatever the conversation held, I'd be okay. Not because I'm bulletproof, but because I'm planted. The conversation turned out to be nothing, a scheduling question, a minor logistics thing that my anxious brain had inflated into an existential crisis. But here's what mattered. The trust wasn't wasted just because the fear was unfounded. The root grew whether the storm came or not. And the next time the text comes in, the next time the fear rises, I'll have evidence. A tally mark that says, I trusted God with this, and I survived. I trusted God with this, and He held me. That's what the trust tally is for, not to track outcomes, to track obediences, to build a history of faithfulness, His and mine, so that when the big drought comes, I'll have 43 small pieces of evidence that He's been here all along. I turn onto my street, and I think about the 3 anchors I've been clinging to all week. The 3 truths I've been letting sink roots into soil I didn't know I had. Promise. Trust in the Lord roots you where drought can't starve you. This isn't about escaping hardship. It's about being sustained through it. It's about having roots that go so deep that when the surface cracks, when provision isn't visible, when life stops cooperating with your plans, you don't panic, you don't scramble, you just keep drawing from the underground river, the one that doesn't depend on circumstances or outcomes, or whether you've been good enough to earn God's favor. The bill came this week, the conflict surfaced, the uncertainty stretched, and I didn't starve. I felt the strain, don't misunderstand. I felt it, but I wasn't consumed by it, because I've been learning to drink from somewhere the drought can't touch. Practice. Micro trusts today that rewire tomorrow's reactions. This is the part I keep coming back to. The part that feels so small it almost seems pointless. 15 minutes in the morning. 1 breath prayer at a stoplight. 1 honest text instead of a safe one. 1 moment where I chose rest over productivity, silence over noise, trust over control. Micro-trusts. Tiny obediences. Little roots reaching down. But they add up. 43 breath prayers. 7 morning rules. 12 entries in the trust tally. 3 drought liturgies. And by the end of the week, my nervous system has new data, new evidence. A new script that says, you can trust God with small things, and if you can trust Him with small things, maybe you can trust Him with big things too. Perspective. Drought doesn't equal death. Deep roots make dry seasons productive. This is the reframe I didn't know I needed. I've spent my whole life treating hard seasons like evidence that something's wrong. With me, with God, with the universe. Like difficulty means I'm off track, or being punished, or failing some test I didn't study for. But drought is just drought. It's not personal. It's not punitive. It's just the season where the growth happens underground. Where roots reach deeper because the surface isn't enough anymore. Where the invisible work becomes more important than the visible results. And productivity in drought doesn't look like accomplishment. It looks like patience, gentleness, generosity, faithfulness. The fruit of the Spirit that no one applauds but everyone feels. I've yielded more fruit this week than I have in months. Not because I accomplished more, because I loved better, listened deeper, showed up more honestly. Let my roots drink so my leaves could stay green, even when the heat was relentless. I pull into my driveway and turn off the engine. Sit in the silence for a moment, hand still on my chest, feeling the steady rhythm underneath. And I realize, I'm not the same person I was 7 days ago. Not because I've arrived, not because I've mastered trust or conquered anxiety or unlocked some secret level of spiritual maturity, but because I've planted something, and what you plant by the waters doesn't just survive, it grows. I'm the person who trusts God before I act. Not perfectly, not without hesitation or doubt or moments where the old reflex tries to take over, but consistently, repeatedly, 1 micro-trust at a time. When the text comes in with a strange tone, I trust first, then respond. When the bill arrives, I trust first, then plan. When the silence stretches in a relationship, I trust first, then reach out, or don't. When the uncertainty rises, I trust first, then act. Trust first. Peace follows, not as a formula, not as a guarantee that everything will work out the way I want, but as a rhythm, a reflex, a root system that holds me when the surface won't. I grab my phone from the cup holder. 1 notification. A text from the friend I reached out to on Wednesday, the one who's been struggling. Thank you for checking in. I needed that more than you know. Can we grab coffee next week? I want to hear what's been helping you lately. You seem different. My eyes blur, not with panic this time, with gratitude. Because this is what happens when you let your roots go deep. You don't just survive your own drought, you become a source of water for someone else's. I think about the wounded healer posture I've been learning this week. The realization that my suffering isn't wasted if it teaches me how to sit with someone else's. That my anxiety isn't a disqualification, it's an education. That the very things I've been most ashamed of are the things that make me most able to help someone who's standing where I stood 7 days ago. Tired, shallow-rooted, clinging to puddles, terrified of what they'll find if they dig deeper. I text back, I'd love that. I'm still figuring it out, but I'm learning some things that are helping. Let's talk next week. Send, and then I do something I haven't done in years. I screenshot the trust tally, all 12 entries, and I text it to her with one line. This is what I've been tracking. Small obediences, micro trusts. It's not much, but it's helping me remember that I can trust God with small things. Maybe it'll help you too. It feels vulnerable. Exposing. Like I'm handing her a map to my mess and hoping she doesn't judge the route I took to get here. But vulnerability is fruit too. The kind that grows in drought. The kind that says, I'm not pretending anymore. I'm not performing. I'm just here, rooted and real. And if my honesty helps you find the river, then the heat was worth it. I get out of the car and walk to my front door. The evening air is cool. Quiet. The kind of stillness that used to make me anxious. Like if I wasn't filling the silence with noise, I'd have to face the thoughts I'd been out running all day. But tonight, the stillness feels different. Not threatening, inviting. Like God's making space for me to just be. Not produce, not perform, not prove. Just exist, held and known and enough. I step inside, set my keys on the counter, pour a glass of water and sit at the kitchen table where I've been starting my mornings all week. And I think about what this story has taught me. My heart isn't weak. It's underrooted. For years, I thought the problem was me. That I was too anxious, too sensitive, too fragile to handle normal life. But the problem was never my capacity. It was my source. I was drawing from puddles when there was a river 10 feet deeper. I was spreading my roots horizontally, grasping for quick fixes when God was inviting me to go down. To dig past the surface, past the shame, past the fear of what I'd find in the silence and reach the water that's been there all along. Trust isn't a feeling. It's a practice. I spent so much time waiting to feel peaceful before I acted. Waiting for certainty before I trusted, waiting for proof before I believed. But trust doesn't work that way. It's not a mood you conjure, it's a muscle you build. 15 minutes at a time, one breath prayer at a time, one micro-trust added to the tally. And over time, the practice becomes a reflex. The reflex becomes a root. And the root becomes the thing that holds you when everything else falls apart. Drought doesn't equal death. Deep roots make dry seasons productive. The heat came this week, and it'll come again. Bills and conflict and uncertainty and all the things I can't control. But I'm not afraid of drought anymore. Not the way I used to be. Because I'm learning that dry seasons aren't evidence of God's absence. They're invitations to go deeper, to let my roots reach further, to discover that He's been sustaining me all along, even when I couldn't see it, even when the surface looked barren, even when I felt forgotten. This is what it means to be a tree planted by the waters, not immune to heat, just rooted so deep that the heat can't kill what it touches. I open my journal one last time, write the final entry for the week, Friday, 8:15 p.m. 1 week of practices, 43 breath prayers, 7 morning rules, 12 trust tally entries, 3 drought liturgies. Not perfect, not painless, but different. Rooted, not restless. The tired heart is learning to trust first, and peace is following. I close the journal, take a sip of water, and I feel it. The presence that's been here all along, waiting for me to stop running long enough to notice. Stay by the river. I will keep your leaf green. Not because you're perfect, but because you're planted. Not because you've arrived, but because you're willing to put down roots where I say to dig. The world will call you slow. Let them. You're not racing anymore. You're growing. And what grows deep lasts. Ooh. The whisper settles into my chest like a benediction, and I know, not with my head, but with something deeper, that this is true. I'm not the same person I was a week ago. Not because I've fixed everything or figured everything out, but because I've learned to trust first, to plant my attention by the river instead of scattering it across 1,000 puddles, to let my roots drink in quiet while God carries the weight I've been counting. And tomorrow morning, I'll do it again. Word, walk, write. 15 minutes before the chaos, before the phone, before the world gets loud. Because this isn't a one-week experiment. It's a new way of living, a new reflex, a new root system. Trust first. Peace follows. Not as a guarantee, not as a formula, but as a rhythm that becomes a life. I stand up. Walk to the window. Look out at the street where I've been driving all week, the same route with a different heart. And I think about the person who's going to read this story, the one who's tired, whose heart is racing, whose peace is leaking out between blinks, the one who's been drawing from puddles and wondering why they're still thirsty. This is for you. Your heart isn't weak. It's underrooted. And there's a river 10 feet deeper than you've been willing to dig. God's been waiting there the whole time, whispering the same invitation he whispered to me. Come sit by the water. Stop tending what I never asked you to grow. Let your roots reach me, and I will keep your leaf green, even in drought, even in heat, even when nothing on the surface makes sense. This week, try the practices. Morning rule of life, 15 minutes, before the phone, before the noise. Word, read Jeremiah 17:7-8. Copy one phrase by hand, pray it back. Walk, 5 minutes in silence. Notice trees, water, light. Write, one fear revealed, one release prayed, one trust action planned. Trust tally. Track your micro-trusts throughout the day. Not outcomes, obediences. Build evidence that you can trust God with small things. Breath prayer. At every red light, at every moment of rising panic. I trust you, Lord. Root me. Let it become your reflex. Drought liturgy. When the heat rises, blessed is your name, who trusts in the Lord, whose hope the Lord is. One good work, serve, encourage, share. One good rest, stop scrolling, 10 minutes of quiet. These aren't magic, they're just roots. Small, daily, unglamorous roots reaching down past the anxiety, past the need to control, toward the river that's been there all along. And when the week is hard, when the bill comes, when the conflict surfaces, when the text arrives with a strange tone, remember, you are not holding the world together with your worry. God is holding you, and he will not let go. Drought tests branches, but it also proves roots, and your roots are reaching deeper than you know. I close my eyes, hands open, heart steady, and I pray, not for you, but with you, wherever you are, whatever you're carrying, however tired your heart feels tonight. Father, but bless the one reading this, the one whose heart is tired, whose breath is shallow, whose peace feels just out of reach. Root them by your river. Teach them to trust first so peace can follow. Keep their leaf green even in drought. Let their roots reach you, deeper than fear, stronger than circumstance, held by love that doesn't depend on their performance. They are yours. They are planted. They are enough. Amen. Tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone, open your Bible to Jeremiah 17:7-8. Read it twice, once fast, once slow. Copy one phrase by hand, pray it back in your own words. Then go outside. 5 minutes. No podcast, no agenda. Just walk, breathe, notice. Come back. Write one fear, one release, one trust action. 15 minutes, one root planted. That's all. Trust first. Peace follows. Rooted, not restless. The road is still there. The dashboard still glows amber. The streetlights still slide past. But you are different now. Not finished, not perfect, but planted. And what's planted by the waters will not be careful in the year of drought. Your leaf will stay green. Your fruit will not cease. Not because you're strong enough, because he is faithful. And faithful is enough. Stay by the river, beloved. I will keep your leaf green.